Okay, good afternoon, everyone. There's no fire, I'm afraid, so I do hate fireside chat, but we haven't got one here. But this is a conversation with Microsoft and RSM. And just quickly to introduce myself, my name's Adam Steele, and I lead the business applications team at Microsoft, working with customers in our professional services, media and telco organisations in the UK. I'm really excited today to be joined by Matthew Clark from RSM. RSM are one of our leading customers in the UK in the professional services space. And I guess, following on from the session we've seen this morning, or the previous session around Gen AI, and we had some fantastic industry examples across various different fields. Today's session now is really just to try and bring that to life a little bit about what does adopting and leveraging some of these technologies really mean for a customer that's going about that change within their business, and what can we learn from that. So thank you, Matthew, for joining us today. I guess maybe just to kick off, it would be great to kind of hear a little bit about who RSM are, first and foremost, and your role within the organisation, and then maybe just sort of touch upon sort of the technology landscape and some of the Microsoft technologies that you're deploying within your organisation.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So RSM are a professional services firm targeting the middle market in the UK. There's about 5,000 employees in the UK, and we operate in around 120 countries globally. I have a bit of a dual role where I sit within our analytics hub and help to kind of lead on the rollout of our data culture, our data strategy, and our kind of data analytics AI tools internally. I also work within our consulting service line in our data and digital advisory team. I think we've been embedded with Microsoft, well, at least since I've been at the firm, the last decade or so. Our cloud infrastructure is all based around Azure. We've rolled out the Power Platform to large parts of the business. We use Dynamics 365, Office 365. We really use the full suite of tools there, I think.
Excellent. Thanks, Matthew. So obviously today there's been a big focus around some of the innovative AI technologies, etc. I guess maybe just to kick off, it would be great to understand a little bit more about the use of some of the low code and AI tools within RSM, what you've been working on specifically, and kind of how you've approached that.
Yeah, we've really made an effort to embrace the citizen developer mantra, I think. Just use an example from our audit data analytics team. Every member of that team was originally an auditor who had an interest or had some skills in data analytics or that background. So the idea has always been about kind of growing our own, taking people that have that interest and giving them those additional skills rather than hiring those skills in. I think that's really helped us to kind of not have a huge amount of that disconnect you often get between technical teams and your business users. I think that's really kind of helped us to kind of keep the rollout quite quick and see lots of benefits from that as we move along. I think around 10% of the firm now has access or has one of our low-code tools installed, most of them from the Power Platform. And those numbers are slightly plateauing. We're not growing quite as quickly there as we have done. But I think what we're finding is the complexity of the solutions that are being built now is increasing. We're now chaining together multiple tools, whether that's different aspects of the Power Platform or with some other tools that we use as well. And I think there's probably not really anyone in the firm that doesn't use Power BI dashboard or similar pretty much every day. We're taking a fairly similar approach to that with generative AI, for example, although if anything, probably doing that a bit more broadly. I think initially we're starting to a trial of Copilot with yourselves, as was mentioned previously, and I think initially, a lot of the technical teams all thought, brilliant, we're all going to get our hands on this new tool and that's going to be great, we're all going to get a license there. But we've really taken the point of going, no, these licenses need to be distributed across the firm. We need to get feedback from everyone. Actually, many of the benefits from Copilot, I think, are going to come from people in non-technical roles. It's going to be about elevating others up, I think. So, yeah, disappointed a few people at the moment with that one.
I think everyone wants to get their hands on the Copilot piece, as you say. And yeah, great to hear. I think Sophie talked about it before, obviously, the benefits of augmenting the employee with the Copilot. And it's great to hear how you're starting to leverage that at RSM. I guess one thing we get asked a lot about at Microsoft and it's kind of how do you start? How do you get on this journey? And how do you sort of, I guess, structure the transformation, whether it's around a low low-code technology, like the Power Platform, or whether it's kind of adopting that some of those Gen AI capabilities across your organisation. So I guess I'm keen to sort of understand some of the foundational elements that you put in place, and I guess how kind of prepared you're feeling for these new technologies that are coming into the organisation.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of businesses will all have had a centre of excellence at some stage, and I think something like that is quite key for trying to keep things coordinated across the business. We have maybe 40 different sort of service areas, service lines that we need to try and coordinate, and our centre of excellence has been really key for making sure that we are adopting products that work across the business and not just for small areas of that business. But you can have too much structure and control, I think, at the centre, and it's been about then trying to spread that out as well. So we encourage each of our we've grouped some of them together, but we've got sort of 10 different groups within our centre of excellence, and we encourage each of them to have smaller centre of excellences within their own service areas. So it's a hub and spokes with kind of smaller hub and spokes spreading out beyond that. And I think that's really key for encouraging that innovation. And you can set a bit of structure centrally, but that can't be the be all and end all. You need to let that have that innovation out within the service lines. I think with AI, that's going to be with Gen AI, for example, that's going to be even more important, because there's going to be so many different small use cases that people use, because it is going to be that assistant as opposed to a specific low code kind of tool that we've had previously. I think that approach we sort of talked about, when we have done that with low code, it's really helped to kind of speed up that adoption as well. The low code solutions are the kind of things that you get results within days and weeks. We're not having to go for a whole month. We're not having to implement a whole new system. You get them in the hands of users. People enjoy using them. People start rolling those out very quickly, and we start seeing the benefits of that really soon.
Yeah, and just maybe to follow up on that just a tiny bit then. So I mean, I guess, again, we hear a lot about the sort of time to value of technologies and long, complex rollouts of new tech. How quickly and easily have you gained adoption of, say, some of the low-code capabilities in your organisation and quickly got value, and how are you sort of seeing that kind of roll out across the organisation?
I mean, as an example, using Power BI, I mean, the training that we've rolled out there is based initially on the Microsoft Learn training that's available, and there's about a day's worth of content that we think gets people up to a really good standard so that they can start producing things on their own. There's a lot of structure around that, or support around that. Our service lines have their own, specific training that they might need to roll out. And from a central point of view, we run sort of certain training events. We have our own internal Power BI University training that we do. We run hackathons periodically, which we've partnered with you for putting those on. So we add extra bits on top of that. But from getting people to a stage where they know very little to being able to put on, build a workable dashboard which can actually be used in the business, it's not a very long period of time at all.
Excellent. Good to hear. So, and I guess building on that, just maybe a tiny bit then as well, thinking about, clearly you've successfully rolled out a number of the Power Platform and low code capabilities across RSM, and you're turning on obviously some of those Copilot and generative AI features and trialing those. How are you kind of measuring the success of bringing those in and the value that they bring to the organisation?
I think measuring success is quite an interesting one, because people often think that it's all about cutting costs or cutting headcount, and I'm not really sure that's certainly not the way we're viewing it. Talking to one of the members of our Centre of Excellence recently, and there's a tool that they've rolled out using a low-code solution that has, if you strictly looked at how many times it's been run versus the time saving every time that's run, it runs into millions of pounds of time on the clock for the firm each year. In reality, it's not actually saved that much against the bottom line, because a lot of that time that's being saved is being reinvested in that client experience. So more time talking to the clients, more time, developing, polishing the end product, whatever it is. And I think we're noticing that same thing with clients as well. A client we've worked with, helping to solution involving Power BI, Azure, Alteryx, a few different products together on their budgeting process, and it actually. It was designed to help save them time, but in the long run, they said it probably didn't save them time, because they spent so much more time delving into the detail, because they could now access that data and they could use it properly. So really, I think for us, and I think we're viewing AI in the same way, that this isn't going to be, or Gen AI, for example, in the same way. It's not going to be about cutting headcount. It's going to be about producing better end products and improving the experience for people who work there. I think as was being touched on stage before.
Yeah, no, it definitely rings true with some of the panel discussion earlier, and it's great. Yeah, using the technologies to improve the quality of the clients. The client delivery. I love that. I guess thinking a bit more on the Gen AI side, and I know you've talked to me a bit about how you're getting some great value out of team meeting summarization and not having to be on every single of those team meetings and get the summary view and the minutes. But I guess, are there any other kind of lessons you've learned specifically, or things you've experienced as you've started rolling out the Copilot capabilities across RSM?
Yeah, I think I described it that if someone tried to take Teams summarization off me, I'd probably fight them at the moment. That's a huge time saver. I think we initially jumped in with a trial of a lot of the different generative AI back in the spring. We had it was open for everyone to jump in, and we had a sort of firm-wide trial, put people in teams, and really tried to gather feedback off that. That helped us to prepare some guidelines, which particularly helped keep our legal team happy with, so that when Bing Chat Enterprise was turned on, we were happy rolling that out pretty much straight away. As mentioned, we've sort of dived into to actually, sort of go forward with a Copilot trial. And I think what we've really learned from that is that particularly as things stand at the moment, and as we've said, it being an assistant, it's almost really a knowledge management tool. It really helps you to surface some of that information you have internally and helps you kind of get that out a bit more quickly. And to that end, we've done a lot of work with our knowledge management team in making sure that our data is properly prepared and curated. And that's certainly a message that we're passing across to clients that we work with as well. The other things sort of more generally in this space is we really think it's really important to kind of keep pushing ahead with really data literacy training for the entire firm. We hired a specific data and digital training manager, which I'm still surprised is not a more common role within L&D teams. And she's done a brilliant job of really pushing data literacy out across the business, and meaning that everyone can kind of go ahead with this being a digital first firm, and everyone feels that they're part of that. I think we've all probably known colleagues who have seen the headlines with AI, don't really understand what all the terms mean, and then are slightly terrified that it's going to take their job, and kind of really trying to make sure you bring everyone along from that and understand that this is about supporting them and helping them to do their job better. I think is really important.
Yeah, no, I love that, and yeah, again, rings really true with some of the things we heard from the panel earlier about that learning and adoption approach. So I think kind of coming towards the end of the session, and I guess today's event in general has been focused obviously around supercharging innovation into action, and I've loved to hear how RSM UK have really embraced that with the adoption of your low-code technologies and generative AI capabilities. I guess it would be great to kind of just maybe have any final thoughts from you around how you're viewing your partnership with Microsoft in this space, and also, I guess, what's next for you on the low code and an AI journey.
Yeah, I haven't really touched on more traditional AI at all. It's all been very Gen AI, which I guess is very much the buzzword. But I know from the approach we've taken there, it's still that citizen developer approach. It's not going to be quite so widespread, but it's still pushing it out to be done in the teams rather than by a kind of central team. Our tax team at the moment have been doing a lot of work using the ML capabilities in Azure to kind of create machine learning models to help auto categorize VAT lines from VAT returns and things like that, which is fantastic. I think the thing that we're really learning from the rollout of the Gen AI is, as I say, it's going to be something that helps to level people up as opposed to remove them, and remove those barriers to entry for certain products. So once Copilot comes out for Power BI, or for Fabric, as I guess it is now, we think at the moment, if you're training a new user on Power BI, you need to give them data visualization training, and then you probably also need to give them training in how to write DAX, for example, and so that they can really interact with it. We're expecting that once we have Copilot for that, it's going to be about giving them data visualization training, and they'll be able to use that natural language to write those formula for them. So that's going to make that's really going to remove that barrier to entry, and I think that's what's going to be really exciting about helping to really expand that citizen developer approach.
Excellent. No, I think I couldn't agree more, and I love, we hear that a lot around the barrier to entry of adopting technologies, and I think that's an amazing area that Gen AI can come in to really help drive that forward. So finally from me, I guess I'd just like to thank Matthew from RSM for joining us on stage today and to hear a bit about his story. I hope everyone's enjoyed that session and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks, Adam.